Oscar Bevis for the Stomping Ground, powered by Wow Hydrate and available on DAZN. It's the morning after the night before. Billy Nelson joins me. Good to see you, my friend. Yeah, we've got quite a bit to talk about. How do you explain the last 48 hours? Martin's in the Congo, you're in Scotland, you both fly over to Saudi Arabia to fight Joseph Parker on extremely short notice. Yes, things didn't go your way, but you rolled the dice. Can you really put the last 2 days into words?
It's crazy, just crazy. Sitting in my house with my wife, and I seen that Daniel was struggling with illness, and I just posted a thing on Twitter saying my bags are packed, half jesting, and less than maybe half an hour to an hour later, an offer came through, which was, life changing. So I had to, as Martin's manager, also I put it to him and says, I'll take that fight. He would fight anybody. He would, and he's, we've said it before, and he's proved a point. Although the circumstances are not ideal, you know what I mean. But there wasn't much of a camp there at all. There was certainly no sparring. He's no had a punch thrown at him since August 3rd. So, but it is what it is. He's took the risk. It never worked. We move on. We still get the fight on the 2nd of May, for which we're very grateful. Turkey Al Sheikh thanked us, and he says that, he's forever indebted to us. So that's nice words from him.
Yeah, as soon as the fight gets announced, obviously people start talking about what sort of condition we're going to get Martin in. I mean, people like to talk in boxing, but people are throwing around how long he's been ticking over for, what he might potentially weigh, what he's been doing in the Congo, even though no one really knows much apart from yourself, Martin, and his close friends. What sort of conversations had you had with Martin over the last month or so? Because I guess, he's in the gym, still looking after himself, but he's not in that fight camp. So what sort of stuff had you spoken about on the phone? Or?
Well, no. He was in the gym ticking over. I mean, literally ticking over, doing 6 rounds on the bags. He'd a couple of days he'd done 10 rounds on the bag, and then we've still got 10 weeks last night until we fight Efe Jagba. So I gave him a week off because his president wanted to meet with him. So he flew over to Congo to meet his president. I think he had a couple of days left of his visit, and that's when the opportunity for this fight arose. So he says, right, okay, I'll take it.
I know you said you put that little tweet out. I know perhaps more in hope than expectation. Quite a few fighters did. I know Fabio Wardley did. But it just shows, I guess, the power of Riad season. No one would have expected that Joseph Parker's replacement opponent would be Martin.
No.
But only in Riad season could you put perhaps a phone emoji and actually get the phone ring?
I did. That's what I did. That's exactly how I wrote it down. I says, we'll just wait. And I tagged His Excellency in the tweet, and I said, waiting on your call. It was half-hearted, but it's been the best thing that's ever happened for Martin Bakole, I can assure you.
Yeah. In terms of coming over here, what was yesterday like? Because we saw Martin, I think one of the media bought some scales for him to do kind of a quick weigh-in. I know he's wearing shoes and clothes and whatnot. So he gets in about 3 a.m. to the hotel. What was yesterday in fight day like leading up to getting to the arena?
Just basically resting as much as he could. I mean, he never got much sleep yesterday at all. He was actually sleeping in the change room last night. He was just, dozed off. Everyone was against him. I mean, listen, let me tell you something, right? See if Martin was in a full camp, and we got a phone call again to fight Joseph Parker or any of the top fighters. But if we were in a camp, we'll do it again. No problem, undoubtedly. I mean, I hope that we could have maybe two maybe good wins, Efe Jagba, another, and then have a rematch with Joseph, because it would be a much better fight, with obviously with Martin having a full camp, because he did hurt Joseph a couple of times. It was a competitive fight until that shot.
I know there's more method to what you guys would have put into yesterday than just go and stick it on, Joe, but did you kind of give Martin perhaps a bracket of, look, you haven't been in a full camp, perhaps a 4 or 5 round bracket of your work's got to be early?
No. We just had to play it by ear. I still reckon Martin could have done the 12 round distance at a decent pace. But Joe was quite sharp last night. Nothing I didn't expect, because he is a sharp fighter. But against a fully fit Martin Bakole, you know, it would have been a much harder fight, and Joseph knows that. It was very favourable circumstances for Joe, but take nothing away from him. He had to do what he done, and he done it.
Yeah, I was going to say, in terms of Joe, obviously, I saw a video where he found out his opponent was Martin. What do you think his, I mean, this obviously would be a question for him, but what do you think his 48 hours were like? Because I know there was a list of opponents. I think a few were put to him, a few he turned down. He said, yes, I want to fight Martin Bakole, is what we're led to believe. What do you think those 48 hours were like for Joe, teetering on the edge of a world title shot and then it's kind of ripped away?
I don't know if it was forced upon him, to be quite honest, because in another interview they said Joe asked for that fight, and in the interview that you're talking about, he was given the information that he's fighting, so there's kind of contradicted each other. I think it was maybe forced upon him, because the other names that were mentioned, they're no world-class heavyweights, and Martin is, even though he's not in the camp.
If I ask you what you thought of Joseph Parker as a fighter, let's just say we're on fight week, you've had a 10-week camp, and I go to you, Joseph Parker, what have you made of his last 2 years? What answer would you give me?
Much improved. He's got a good team behind him. Andy Lee's a good friend of mine. Joe's a friend of mine. You know, we've been in camps in Morecambe 3 or 4 times with him. Lovely guy, funny man, and I wish him all the very best, by the way. Much improved fighter, and who, even if he never fought Martin Bakole, now or again, I would wish nothing but the very best. In fact, I could show you my phone now. I messaged Spencer Brown and Joe on Wednesday wishing them all the best for the fight. We've got it here.
Well, do you know what everyone was saying? When it come to Joe and Martin, you're putting 2 of the nicest heavyweights and most genuine 2 blokes in the ring.
Yeah, well, listen, Joe could have went off on a tandem last night saying that you know, the best thing since this, that, and that. He was the first one to thank Martin, and they thanked myself in interviews for taking the fight. Sign a real gentleman and a real sport.
I spoke to Eddie Hearn after the main event, and he said that he feels like the fight shouldn't have been taken from your side. I think perhaps with the presumption that it might have hindered the May date, and if you fight for the WBO interim, they might remove an IBF eliminator. I'm not sure. But you said you're fighting May the 1st, but just kind of a response to Eddie saying that last night shouldn't have been taken.
We're still fighting May the 2nd, but it won't be a final eliminator. But on the flip side of that, if we would have beat Joseph Parker last night, he's interim world champion for the WBO, and that the WBO will get called before the IBF probably. But it's okay for a multi-millionaire telling somebody that's not a multi-millionaire they shouldn't take the opportunity to earn life-changing money. So,
yeah, I guess financially last night was obviously quite fruitful.
Fantastic, life-changing.
How's Martin this morning?
He's fine. He's in a shopping mall. He's away
spending his money already.
He's a spendaholic on clothing. I've never met anyone. I mean, he must have about 60 pairs of trainers in that house. And he's wee boy. He's 4-year-old. I think he's got 20 odd pair of trainers.
Do you know what he does need to do? He needs to get a pair of jeans that aren't skinny, Billy. You can't be travelling in skinny. I was looking at the photos going, that must have been the most uncomfortable flight in the world. A man of Martin's size and stature travelling in skinny jeans.
They're generally ripped to shreds as well. But that's style now, I don't know. You're asking the wrong guy here about style. I'm still wearing the 1980s tracksuit.
No, I'm rocking with a purple Adidas trackie. So when you talk about May the 1st, was there kind of a guarantee or a word given last night by His Excellency that May the 1st is?
It was guaranteed before the fight. Also, His Excellency called us over after the fight, shook our hand and thanked us for jumping in, taking the fight, and assured us that we're fighting on the 2nd of May against Effie Jagba.
Have you spoke to Ben Shalom this morning?
No.
I'm just wondering, because I didn't manage to catch up with him, what he thought and what was said between him and Martin.
No, he's a bit disappointed, but listen, we rolled the dice. It's one of those things, isn't it?
Yeah.
A defeat doesn't define a boxer. I mean, Derek Chisora is one of the best fighters. You know, he's a fucking warrior. You know what I mean?
Sitting on 13 defeats.
13 defeats. Now, he's made a bomb out of boxing, and he's a nice guy. You know what I mean? So, fair, you know, defeats don't define you. There's plenty more to come with Martin Bakole.
What did you think was going to happen in Daniel Dubois versus Joseph Parker?
I thought Daniel would probably have won because of activity. But in saying that, Joe did look sharp last night, at least for that short spell. But so, you know, but Martin hit him with some shots that Joe probably shouldn't have been hit with. And if that was a fully fit Daniel Dubois, it could have been troublesome.
Just beyond, or perhaps looking towards the rest of 2024 and 2025 and maybe into next year. Joshua and Usyk were ringside last night. Obviously, Joe fought Martin. Daniel will want to come back into the fold. I know they've spoken about Daniel and Alexander Usyk already. How do you picture the next 18 months going for Martin? So there's May the 1st,
Martin.
which...
May the 2nd.
May the 2nd, sorry. I keep saying May the 1st. May the 2nd.
It's still like the Anthony Joshua fight in Africa.
Okay.
It's still like that. You know, Anthony's coming off a knockout defeat. We'll have a fight in the interim in May. I'm sure Joshua will have a fight maybe May time, June. And then why could the two of them no fight? And because what else is there really?
If Martin would have won last night, would he have gunned immediately for Anthony Joshua, who was watching and sitting ringside?
No, the plan was always to fight Effie Jagba. Well, we had a choice to make then. Do we go down the IBF route in the final eliminator, or do we go down the WBO route as an interim champion? We've not got that choice anymore.
Still into May, still a big fight with FA Jagba. And we get round 2 of you versus Andy Lee next week as well in Belfast. It all comes very quickly in this game.
Very much so. Andy Lee couldn't meet a nicer guy. You know what I mean? 2 years going really well. Congratulated him. I went into his change room last night, congratulated him and his team. They're doing a first class job with Joseph Parker, and it's a fight I'm really looking forward to next week.